Look, thanks everyone for being here today for a historic moment for Ballymore, and we're extremely proud to have the Brisbane Roar here today to announce that we'll be creating the first home for women's rectangular sport, with the announcement that the Brisbane Roar women's team will be permanently based here in the upcoming season. Women's sport has been through significant transformation over the last 10 years. Football's such a big participation sport. Rugby's going through its growth as well, so it's great to be able to provide a permanent home for the growth of such an important part of both of our games here today, and happy to take any questions, as is Chris, the chair of Brisbane Roar.
Dave, how much of a game changer
This is transformational for Ballymore. As a sporting precinct, it's obviously been part of the rugby fraternity for a long time, but to open it up to be a multi-sport precinct gives it a lasting legacy. We've got the National Rugby Training Centre, which will be the home for our women's national program, the Wallaroos, and the Queensland Reds, men's and women's. But to be able to then have that development that now creates an opportunity for women's sport more broadly, I think is key.
How do you see the collaboration working, given that two very different sports will be here together?
Look, I've worked with the Roar previously here, and the collaboration's been very good. I was part of it when John Aloisi was coach, and they used it as a training facility, and it worked well. I think there's times where both coaches and players integrated really well, so there's definitely some intellectual property share. But as a venue, it's a rectangular sport. We're both rectangular sports, and rugby and football, I think, should be working closer together, both at an event level like us, but as well as a community level. So I think that by us coming together and creating a venue that's going to leave a legacy for Brisbane and Queensland and for the Olympics is a good result.
When we add the Olympics to the equation, hockey, potentially sports climbing, how do you see those sports also being integrated into the venue?
Yeah, look, sports climbing, it's proposed to be outside of the back of the eastern stand there. That'll be utilised as a recreational facility for people, for the general public, but also it's a great opportunity for sports climbing, which is an Olympic sport, for it to be utilised as a high performance venue for training those athletes, and potentially, if the government are interested, to be utilising it as a venue for the Olympics for climbing. So I think that's a positive. When it comes to game day, you can go at the back and go for a climb before you come to a Roar women's match or a Reds match. So that's positive. I think outside of that, what was the second part?
About hockey.
Hockey. Yeah, look, I think hockey, there's different options there. You've obviously got the temporary overlay for the pitches for hockey. You've got, I think from an Olympics perspective, you've got an opportunity to integrate all the green spaces. So Victoria Park's been utilised for equestrian, as I understand it. Hockey here, you're just creating a great green space. You've got a Nogra and Newmarket Sports Precinct over the creek there. So the integration of hockey into here around the Olympics will be a massive legacy for Ballymore and also for the Hurston community.
I know Hockey Queensland are kind of talking about maybe having their own facility. Have they been consulting you about, what that might look like as an alternative to that?
Yeah, we met with the CEO about 2 months ago just to give them an update of what our plans were, so they were across it. Obviously, fair enough, hockey want a more permanent base, which I completely respect and understand. There's ways and means around the Olympics. They need to have a venue that's got a certain capacity, so if that's going to be Ballymore, which is the current master plan, or not, I'd support any infrastructure for hockey. But when it comes to the Olympics, smarter people than me are a part of the planning on how that all integrates and what it looks like.
Chris, what's this mean for your club?
Well, it's a game changer for us. We've been in existence for 18 years now in Brisbane as a club, and we've always wanted a boutique environment, rectangular stadium that we could play in. That wasn't obviously the size of Suncorp, something that fans could get closer to. What the Reds and Ballymore bring to this environment is a family-centric venue, which is even more exciting for us. So, look, we're launching with the women's. So the Liberty A-League women's team will be starting next season and having all their home games here, which is fantastic for us. And we'll be looking for some of the men's games down the line as we go into the next season. So,
do you feel like the men could eventually move here as well permanently?
Look, absolutely. We'll see how it goes. It's certainly got all the potential, and we're planning for that. It's just we need a few things done, and as you can see, we've got one fantastic stand over here. We need another one done. But look, the plans are in place, and if we can get them over the line, it's definitely going to happen in the future.
Public transport, is that something that's going to be sort of within the plan going forward redevelopment? Obviously, that's a big major drawing card for Suncorp Stadium. That's one of the sort of the criticisms of Ballymore in the past. Is that being addressed with this redevelopment?
Yeah, it is. Look, and I know that transport gets brought up, and probably just to start to debunk the myth, a lot of people remember transport in the 80s and 90s when you could drive your car and park in the back and have a few drinks and hopefully not drive home under the influence. But you know, that was the environment. So you know, people would be in a conga line of cars and buses getting out. The future of Ballymore is public transportation. So you've got three modes of transport. You've got the train lines. You've got Wilston, which is only probably just under a kilometre, 900 metres away, which is probably just a little bit further than Milton is to Suncorp, which probably a lot of people don't realise. You've got the R&A down the road, which the inner city Cross River Rail will finish at. So that terminates there, and there's obviously shuttle services that will come to Ballymore from train. And you've got Kelvin Grove. So you've got the train transportation. The bus infrastructure, we've been working very closely with City Council. And you'll see in our master plan, the buses actually integrate into the precinct and drop you off behind the hill over here, which I think creates a great access point in and out of games. And shuttle bus services will run from all the areas around Brisbane. And then obviously if you choose to drive, which is not a preference, but there is car parking, QUT, you've got the hospital, you've got the R&A. So in reality, when you look at it, it's not that big a hike to get to Ballymore, and I think it's quite an opportunity. And you're talking about a venue that'll have a capacity maximum of 15,000. So we're not trying to get 52,000 people or 20,000 people out of here. So that's important. The last part I'll say is that using the COVID terminology of flattening the transport curve is the experience of Ballymore will be coming early and staying later, because there'll be more things to do. You know, if you're going to come here with your children because there's activities out on the green space, you're going to bring them earlier. If you're coming with a bunch of mates and there's a beautiful area for your partner to go and have a drink at the Moet Bar or the Pims Bar or whatever it may be, there'll be reasons to come in and stay later. So that'll also help with transport. And we know with Suncorp is a world-class venue, but people tend to get in there right before kick-off and want to leave straight afterwards because they've got Caxton Street and other areas. So we feel all of those things lined up, that transport won't be a problem.
Will we see more rugby union played here?
Well, of course, we've got our women's team. We'll have a bunch of pre-season fixtures with the Reds. We're actually proposing to play a game against Panasonic, the Wild Knights over in Japan here later this year. So there'll be great opportunities for more rugby here, and obviously we've got our club fixtures and our school fixtures as well that we'll be playing.
When's it up and operational?
So stage one behind us here will be practical completion is the end of May. So it'll be opened formally in late June, but it'll be open as of June. The venue will be effectively activated at that point. So there's two things that we need to finish off here. Chris was alluding to before. One is the eastern stand itself, a solution around how we fix that issue. The concourse will remain and be renovated, which is what's behind you right here. And then the other part is just finishing off the lighting to getting it to broadcast standard.
The Women's FIFA World Cup, it's going to be here in a few months' time. Will it be up and operational for teams to perhaps use this as a training facility?
Yep, it will be, yeah. Yep. And we've, I know they've got proposed venues, and we could potentially be a contingency for that if those venues aren't ready in time, but absolutely, and we'd be open to that. You've got a world-class field getting built to the right of me over behind the hill. That'll be the same dimensions as Suncorp Stadium, so it'll create a great training environment for those teams preparing to play. Gymnasium, auditorium, recovery facilities are going to be world-class, so it'll be ready to go for football as well.
Chris, as Dave was saying, it's not the first time you and the Reds. Like in the past, it hasn't always ended up on the best of terms. You think it'll be better this time?
Oh, the past is the past, Marco. I think we've been working on this for 12 months now with David and his team, and look, I think we've got a good future together. And you've got to remember, we won't be training here. We were training before, so we were spending a lot more time here. We're talking about games. So you know, and that's never been a proposition for Ballymore for us, and it hasn't been for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
So it is, as I said, it's a game changer, and I think it's something that Brisbane and Queensland needed for a long time. and here we are. We're very close to getting this over the line and having our first games here. So I think, look, the relationship's strong, and it will continue to be.
Chris, do you feel as though, obviously the fans have sort of pushed for the club to be playing the games back in Brisbane rather than out in Redcliffe?
Sorry?
Do you feel that the fans have sort of have asked for this to bring the game back to Brisbane?
Well, look, absolutely, but we also have too. So look, we moved. Well, let's not talk about. We moved out of Brisbane for a few years ago. It worked actually during COVID, but you know, we're a Brisbane team. We need to play in Brisbane. We restructured the beginning of this year, and our intention was to come back to Brisbane, and here we are, and we're going to stay in Brisbane. And now with this facility online, it gives us more options, and it actually gives our supporters and fans something they've been asking for years. And so, yeah, it ticks all the boxes.
Is this locked in as an Olympic venue, or is it still, to be decided officially?
So it is locked in as an Olympic venue. We've got an MOU with government for it to be an Olympic venue. As you know, as much as it's proposed for hockey at this stage. And I've mentioned opportunities around sports climbing and those other areas that will come out, but it's definitely part of the master plan, and it's been communicated to us that we need to be getting it Olympic ready.
What's the process to potentially making it ready for sports climbing? Is there anything that would need to change with the plans if the government did come on board?
No, we've got the good news in all of this is we've had all the approvals passed through both council and state government. So effectively, we're shovel ready with any of the things we're speaking about. So the sports climbing element is ready to go, approved, and it'll be from what I understand from speaking to sports climbing, it'll be the first outdoor climbing facility in the Southern Hemisphere. So a real landmark, and obviously again something that can be utilised as legacy for the Olympics. We're talking to an organisation that's got a lot of indoor climbing facilities from a commercial perspective called Urban Climb. So it'll be a partnership ultimately with Urban Climb, sports climbing, and hopefully the Queensland government.
Hockey, sports climbing, any capacity for any other sports?
I think we're maxing out. Well, I think we're trying to do our best to be multi-sport, and we've done a good job to get to that point, but I think that's the limit.
Anyone to hear from either Shannon or any of one of the Raw girls from their perspective? Shannon, do you want to jump on?
Yep, sure. Shannon, we might just get you to spell your first and last name just so everyone can test the level of the mic.
Shannon, Shannon, Parry, Parry.
How good is it for you and the girls?
Super exciting. We've obviously got the National Rugby Training Centre over here behind us. It's all underway, but we welcome the Raw and be part of the home of rectangle women's sport. It's a great development, I guess, in the revolution of women's sport. It's really exciting.
Are you okay to share?
To share?
To share?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I mean like...
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great for the development of the women's game. I think, to have a niche market like this where we can play in front of 5,000-10,000 people, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking to play in the massive stadiums, although it is a luxury when we get to play the double headers with the men's to play in a stadium like this. This is what women's sport's about. It's about the family atmosphere, having people on the hill, having the kids and the family around as well, and really making it a family day out.
Shannon, Super W, a really tight loss to the Waratahs on Sunday. What did we take away from that game?
Yeah, massive, I guess, step forward for us in terms of the Waratahs match and fixture down there, and I think we're sort of really starting to close that gap. The team's come a long way since our first round, and we're looking to put another good, positive performance this weekend against Fijiana.
Fijiana, what do you expect from them?
Very big, physical, Fijian flair, the sevens game on a 15s field, so we need to make sure we're up for it. Big week of training this week in preparation.
Hi. I'm Shay Connors, SHEACONNORS.
First impressions?
I've actually never been here before, but it's actually a really beautiful stadium, and it's so exciting to be here with the Reds today. To meet the girls already has been really nice.
To have a perfect mind to have some of the people grow.
Yeah, that's really nice. We've bounced around the last few years, so it'll be really, really nice to have a place where we know every game, every Saturday, Sunday we'll be here, and that would be really great. So the fans know there's not a question of where we're playing, and it'll be great for us always to have the same place to come to and have it familiar for the fans.
tell by your accent you're from New Zealand. So, what's I mean, obviously from where you're originally from, compared to what we're building here now, I mean, where does this sort of relate on the world map?
Yeah, this is really comparable to a lot of stadiums in the States. For a lot of the college stadiums are about fit for like this, like for a football stadium, because obviously they're not having, 50,000 fans, but obviously like 15 to 20,000, which is really comparable. It honestly looks like any of the stadiums back home in the States, and it's really exciting to see that here, especially in this size in Brisbane, because obviously Suncorp's just so massive, and the women's game is growing, but we'll never fill that at the moment. So it's really exciting that there's a stadium that we could potentially fill, especially with the World Cup coming and more people getting excited about women's football and women's sports. It's exciting to see that, watching the video, that this is a stadium that we could fill, and we can in the future, so it's really exciting.